Let it be
kept
noted, all
saying
members
that.
are
Oh,
present.
This is painful.
First order of business is approval of minutes of October 5th, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item D2 on the agenda, discussion regarding 2021 ward map and aldermanic redistricting. Attorney Kale?
Alderperson Lezik, thank you. Appreciate everyone getting together tonight. I wish I was bringing better news, but if you haven't heard, the county did not pass a tentative supervisory map. As a result, we will not be able to take any official action on the ward map, at least for now. I brought up some scheduling stuff from the county just to show you where they're at and what they're doing. So for those who aren't aware, there's an independent redistricting committee. This exists as a result of the county's code. They created this independent committee for the purpose of drafting maps every 10 years. What's a nice way to say it?
You don't listen to them.
It's not so independent, I guess. They operate independently, and then they're told to operate more dependently upon the county board's wishes. So,
Is that committee pop up once a year or once every 10 years?
once every 10 years it exists. So, I guess, all jokes aside, and not trying to pass blame on anyone, the nuts and bolts of it is we can't take action until they do. The latest is the county board met on the, I believe, 13th. Yeah, so they met on the 13th, and that was the meeting in which they rejected the second offering from the independent committee. As you can see, there's another meeting scheduled for the 22nd. There's no agenda yet, but I'm guessing it's on there for the purpose of eventually potentially passing one. This, I think, is their traditional time that they start is the morning. So it's probably just their regular county board meeting, but I'm hoping that if something is available for them, they would pass something at that time. So this is now the earliest that we'll have any information on whether the county's passed anything. Also, you can see the independent committee, there are no further scheduled meetings right now. So I don't know if they're still going to do anything or what the deal is. Basically, all that's happened is the county has voted to reject 2 different types of maps. They're on version K, last I heard. And I'm sure the maps are being drafted by an organization called Sewer Pack Southeast Wisconsin Planning and Regional, whatever it is. They're doing the mapping. They're very smart mapping people, but I just think it's hard when a group like that is trying to infer what a political group wants to do. It's an outside group, not with the county. There isn't a strong connection between them, and it shows during the meetings if you watch them. And so I don't know how long this is going to take, to be honest with you. So, at least for today, that's my grim intro for today, but I thought we had this on the calendar just in case. Thought we would at least get together. I could show you some maps that I sent out. You can see the actual data behind it. And the other thing I'd like to do is get some feedback, more feedback like we did last time with a little more time than we had last time. So that when the time comes, my goal is to understand the general wishes of the council so that I can draft 2, maybe 3 maps at most and have something that all 3 are viable candidates and the council just picks one. And that'd be an ideal situation if we can do that. So feedback on how much you're okay with the lines moving would be great, because right now there's 2 schools of thought. One is we could try to keep the current districts as close geographically as they currently are, and try to displace the fewest number of voters. So the most voters we can keep within the same district, we could try to do that. Another thing to do is you could completely throw that out the window and completely draw new lines that maybe would make more sense given today's circumstances, and trying to really gather communities of interest instead of having these kind of stretched out or kind of adjusted lines. So you could always just hit the reset button and start over. Those are both options, both are legal, both are on the table. So some feedback on that would be great. So without further ado, I guess before we really get into it, since we do have a little more time this time, I do want to show you that I drafted a county plan.
Stop it.
Yeah, maybe you should help them.
That's what he should do.
Is the county watching?
Well, this is recorded, so there's going to be video available. And it's actually, if you saw, it's the same system the county is using. They see my name and the plan that I drew in there. They just don't have my password, which I'd be happy to give to them, though. So I did this Friday over my lunch hour. And it's one of those things where I'm sure you could find fault in this map. You could find something that, those two neighborhoods don't necessarily mesh, and you put them in the same group or whatever you want to do. But I think the problem with redistricting, and I think the point of me bringing this up to the council today is there probably isn't going to be a perfect map. There's not going to be one, and the faster you accept that, the better this is all going to work. What you have to do, I think, and what my recommendation is to come up with a workable map that everyone, or at least a majority of everyone, can agree is good enough. If no one gets exactly what they want, that means it's probably a pretty good map. So, like for this example, I watched the meetings and I tried to take what the elected officials were saying and what the people who are not on the county board, who were public commenters, were saying, and I tried to put it all together. And so what I heard were the two primary things is, one, if you're a suburb, you want as much as possible to have a single supervisor represent your suburban community. And if you are Milwaukee, what you want is the highest priority is equitability in the concept of the Voting Rights Act. So fair distribution of people based upon communities of interest, which happens to be ethnicity or race. And so the actual numbers in the county would work out that if you just simply divided them, you divided by race, and you came up divided by 18, you'd actually end up with 5 districts that are from people who reported their ethnicity or race as black, 9 who reported as white, and 3 who reported as Hispanic, 1 reported as Asian. So that would be if you just simply could divide it and split it up. Basically the problem is, if you're of an Asian race, or that was the race you reported on your census, there isn't a specific concentration of folks who have checked that box on the census to really create a separate district in which the majority of voters are of that race. It's just, there's a small pocket right here, kind of by 35th and Valete, and then there's a very spread out area in the northwest side of the city. And those are the only 2 spots in which any density on the coloration map even shows up for folks who are of Asian descent. And there's just, even if you concentrate everyone right here, that's not enough to become a majority. And even if you capture everyone here, that's not enough to become a majority. And the problem, I guess, is folks of that race are just spread out all over the county, and it's so thinly divided that it doesn't even register on a heat map as to any opportunity you might have to create a district like that. You could try, and I've tried, to create districts here and here, and you just never get a majority. So what I've sort of conceded to is that I wasn't going to be able to do that one. So instead my focus was finding 3 districts that would be of Hispanic race, and then focus on getting 5 that would be of black, and then 9 of white, and then whatever else was left is whatever it is. So in that case, if you can see, I can sort here. Each one's about 52,000 people per districts, over 18 districts. So if you click on the white race box, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's kind of 9. That's a really close number. That's about 50-some%. But it's 9 districts essentially in which the majority of voters would be white. If you get beyond that, that's it. That's only the 9 ones right there. The rest are of different races and different backgrounds. So I feel like I've accomplished that. If you go to folks who reported as black on the census, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you've got actually 5 and 6 are both over 50%, but it's not that majority of, we wanted 30,000 is what I was looking for to become an official community of interest. So you want 60% approximately. So it's a little less, but there's a 6th district basically that has a high enough number that if people came out to vote, they could elect a person of their choice. So it's actually 6 districts that would be in that category. And then, before I go to the other one, those who reported as Hispanic, you see, again, I couldn't get 30,000 because people are too distributed around the county. And to create it would have messed up the rest of the designs that I have, and I'll show you why. But you'll have, again, two stronger ones and one kind of medium one. But in all three instances, people of Hispanic race outnumber any other particular race or combination of races. So it's a stronger Hispanic district. You'll also see District 10, which is still a slight majority for white, but there's a very strong mix of races throughout the whole thing. So I would argue it's sort of a grab bag, and then usually you can zoom in on that. No, whatever. It's actually partially in West Dallas, the way I have it drawn. So as you can see, it's Lisbon down to West Milwaukee, the whole east side, east of 76th Street, this little area of Milwaukee in between. So I feel like that's a very diverse group. That probably is, given the segregated nature of the county, one of the more diverse areas of geographic land in the city or in the county. So I feel like that was just a good in-between. So as you can see, I don't know, I drew it up so that I stayed along major lines, and the Greenfield and Greendale are one district, and that's it. There's nothing outside of that. Hills Corners, Franklin, and a slice of Oak Creek. Oak Creek had to give up a little bit of space there, just based on population. I didn't want to break these two up because they basically are a perfect district together, numbers-wise. So there's nowhere else to go but take from Oak Creek. Then Oak Creek is everything in Oak Creek minus this little bit, but plus a chunk of Milwaukee by the airport. St. Francis, Cudahy, and South Milwaukee are all in the same supervisor district, but they weren't quite big enough, so I had to take a little slice out of Milwaukee. And you'll see a few Milwaukee districts here. West Dallas is straight down 76th Street, nice and simple and clean and easy. If you're west of there, you're in one district. You're east, you're in a different one. Wauwatosa was not quite big enough, so it was the whole city of Wauwatosa plus this little slice of Milwaukee where the zoo is. On the lake side of things, from Shorewood to the downtown, basically on the east side of the river is all one, but it wasn't quite big enough, so I had to scoop a few spots. This is like River West area, so like that to make it big enough. And as you can see, as I just kind of move around, the districts are very compact. I tried my best to stay along, significant borders like railroad tracks, major roads, rivers, and then municipal boundaries. So a little slice out of Glendale too. Those are only three communities. Oak Creek lost a little bit to Franklin. We are too big for one, so we had to split in two. And then Glendale, only because if you combine all the North Shore properties here, River Hills, Bayside, Fox Point, Whitefish Bay, and Shorewood, and Glendale, they're too big. So someone had to lose about 2,500 people, and based upon the geography, this area was the best spot to lose from. So Glendale just gets split into that reason and that reason alone. But, so this is a good example of just trying to put it together. I know some folks who work for the county, so I'm just going to send this to them. Just be like, hey, I'm sure you've been given all kinds of opportunities to look at people's individual maps, but here's another one. We'll see if it goes anywhere. I'm at the point where it's worth me putting a little time into this to get it moving for our sake.
Right.
So that was just kind of a heads up of what's going on in the county and how I don't think it's that difficult to put together a reasonable map. It's probably not perfect, but I think it's very reasonable.
Kale, when's the deadline for them to have this done?
So legally, they have 60 days after they received the data. And the data, I think, was received sometime at the end of August. So we're talking end of this month would be the legal deadline. If they don't do it by then, that just it creates a cause of action, I believe, for any voter could come up and essentially bring it to the courts and have the courts draw the map. That's how I understood it, but I've actually never looked at the county side before. That's how it would work if we were behind. But if it's them, I'd have to look to see exactly what's going on.
Well, when are we behind?
Well,
Yeah, when's our deadline?
our time is 60 days after we receive the county's map.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So our time hasn't started.
So it doesn't really matter, I mean, because obviously our next election isn't for some time.
We are fortunate in that we're not going to be impacted on a local level. There are other communities that will be, though, probably, who might have elections next year.
Yeah.
We are fortunate in that we're not quite on the gun, but still, there are certain timelines that line up for folks where by December 1 is basically the day where you need to know what your wards are and what your automatic districts are if you're going to run, because that's when you have to get signatures.
Yeah.
So December 1 was sort of the date that everyone has circled in their minds, at least, as when this has to be done on all levels. So the county said 2 shots at it, of which they were both rejected unanimously. So I'm hoping that,
Someone's not happy.
Unanimous.
I'm hoping, yeah, there was 15-0, then 18-0. Everyone, they I don't know.
That doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Unanimous.
Yeah, it must- right?
So, yeah, so, and like, I know the Corp Counsel over there I actually worked with her when we were both in Milwaukee, and she's a very competent attorney, and I can see she's trying her best to get this thing moving, but it's ultimately on the county schedule. The county board decides. So there's nothing that we can legally do to force them to do anything.
So the county board technically are the one holding the other communities hostages
Yes.
at this point. So for you to do this additional work, I think that's great. But I wonder, the county board, I'm sure they're a little selfish, that's what I call them. They want to probably concur with what you propose to them, because of course they have an engineering firm and a company doing that, so they don't want to look like a fools, But I hope they'll get your drawings, and I think you did a good of a job, Kel. I mean, I didn't realize you had all this background in engineering and everything else.
I'll be honest with you, Vince. I enjoy this process. as much
Yeah,
as-
you do it, really. That's the
So-
first time that 10 years ago was not like this.
No,
No. it
10
wasn't.
years ago was a much different process. This application that the state put together is fantastic.
Yes.
And it has been extremely efficient in how doing it. What takes me a lunch to do would have taken me several days to do on the old system. So it's a very impressive system.
Yes.
So as you can see, I now have, 12 different maps that I've drawn, of which none of them are applicable because we don't have any official lines yet. So,
And Kale, just as a reminder,
yeah.
we are not allowed to, or just bad policy to have an aldermanic district shared between 2 different supervisory districts?
Oh,
It's confusing for a citizen, I understand that.
Well, I don't think that's the problem, Marty, because the 4th already is
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
an assembly district too.
But we can't,
It's the wards.
Why are we, it's the wards.
It's the wards.
yeah, so how it works is they give us their tentative supervisory map. We then, even though I keep showing you aldermanic districts, ultimately the first thing we have to do is pass a map that divvies up the wards and then send that back to the county. So we want to draw the wards where it works for your aldermanic districts, but also works for the county's districts. And then both the city and county simultaneously will enact their supervisory map and aldermanic map together. But they have to give us that tentative one, and then we have to give them the ward map first. So even though I keep showing you aldermanic maps, it's only because that's important for me to later draw the wards. I'll just draw the
We
wards.
create the wards.
Correct.
And you said the minimum ward size is 800?
800 to 3,200 is the maximum.
Okay.
And the nice thing about the wards is they don't have to be the same population. Just the automatic districts have to be the same population. So what happens is when you've selected a map that you like, what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll slice them up into wards, and I'll just present it to you and say, this is a ward map that will allow you to create that aldermanic map you liked. And it also works with the county. If you really want to get in the nuts and bolts, I can present ward maps, but when I do that, it gets real colorful and difficult to see,
Yeah.
for your purposes at least.
Kale, based on the size of our city and looking at the maps that you drew up with the lines, I don't see that we would be impacted that greatly. It's just a matter of waiting. I
Yeah.
can't see that they would divide us any more than it's already divided
So-
in half for us.
Yep. So the only time they put us in a pinch is if they carve out a small part of West Dallas, or they carve out a certain angle of one of the parts of West Dallas that kind of stick out, then they would lock us into potentially having to do a single ward there, and we couldn't split that ward potentially.
Okay.
So there are rare situations which they can lock us in place. And when I say lock us in place, our job as a city is to put together a ward map that is a good faith effort to comply with the county. And so when I say that good faith effort, I don't know if it's ever been challenged. I don't remember any cases on this, but we don't have to accommodate the county. We should, and we should try to do so if there's any way to do so. It shouldn't just be our preference to ignore them, but it should be like they drew it up essentially wrong and put us in a position where we had to do something different. So if that comes up, we can deviate from the county's plan, but my recommendation is to, if we physically can accommodate the county, we should do so. That's what the law requires. So you're correct also, because no matter how they draw it, we should be able to get very, very close with our ward design to accommodate them and also get something that the council would like for aldermanic maps. It's hard to tell for sure right now, but you saw how much the maps changed when they changed their lines. So I guess if there are other questions about the process, I know it's, like I said, it's every decade, so it's not like this comes up often. And it is a little bit confusing, so I'm happy to answer the questions on the process behind the scenes. Otherwise, with the rest of our time, I was hoping we could go into a couple maps that I drew that I got some favorable feedback on. I got two maps really seemed to be favorable, and so I was going to bring them up and see what everyone thought. We'll go with this one. I think this is, so it's, and then actually I was going to just bring up a blank map and show you how I've been drafting these things. All right, so here's one version. You'll recall that I made a note about District 1 potentially shifting so much that Alderperson Tornorio would be in District 2, potentially. That is obviously no longer the case because that map was rejected. So we don't really know where those lines are going to fall, what's going to happen with it. So this was just an accommodation for the county. It does not have to be this jagged of an edge anymore.
Good.
But I was more interested in the general concept for District 5. As you can see, I extended the entire west side, west of Highway 100. That's about 9,400 people, so it needs to be a little bigger to get that 12,000. And that's where it picks up this little square down here, and then goes up to the interstate here and follows the railroad tracks north. This was District 3, and it would become District 5. And then District 4 would actually extend out a little farther than it used to. The reason I bring this up is if you come up with this arrangement, District 3 being stuck in the middle, it's least flexible as a result, because the edges you can kind of pick your lines, but once you pick your lines, you're moving interior lines. So 3 as this shape is a nice, easy shape to tell people. It's a very easy thing for the elected officials to understand. So if that is something that the council prefers, I would just keep this as at this shape.
Yes.
I agree.
Anyone, any thoughts?
I agree.
I agree
That
too.
makes sense. It includes my boyhood home now, is in my district.
All right.
Go bit, play at home.
On District 2, could you zoom in around that neighborhood at MATC?
Sure. And District 2 is, let's see, where's that?
I guess that's where I have a concern there is, so the downtown now is split between 2 districts, right?
Yes.
And you have a little bit of a neighborhood that, well, the houses around MATC do kind of share common issues. So I don't know if we could put some of that back in 2 and give up something back to 1 somewhere else.
So
Really get rid of that stuff down
Down
the
below.
bottom.
Yeah, not all that
Back.
though. That stuff around MATC is not that dense. I mean, it looks like a lot of land there,
There's much there.
but there's not a lot. But there will be apartments
Yeah, but
someday.
in town.
Yeah.
Not in all of them.
Not- well, there might be apartments
It
there.
should stay on 70th Street.
Yeah, I'd like to see it staying on 70th Street if we can.
And this movement of all these lines was to accommodate the county's Plan K,
Oh, yeah.
version K. So
Okay.
they do not, it doesn't need
So
to
we
be
don't
like this
know yet.
anymore.
They still have to get to Z.
Yeah, so
Gail,
Then
don't
A1,
comment the county. This is ours thing, not the county, this is us.
which is exactly what I'm saying. We can disregard this line now.
Yeah, could we change that then?
Yeah, so if everyone's okay with 3, I'm going to lock that in. Is everyone okay? Well, when I say everyone, what I mean is for today's purposes,
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
locking your vote in.
Yeah, we're
with
not
us.
voting on it.
Yeah, right.
Right.
The northern part of number 5. What is the northern?
North
It's
city
the
limits.
That goes to city limits.
South city limits, the whole,
Hank Aaron
Green,
Trail.
get
Yeah, the
Greenfield
whole
Park?
thing.
everything west of Highway 100 and north to south.
Yeah, but what's the furthest street? It's
Oh.
not Greenfield anymore.
Theo Trucker.
It's,
This
No, it's a freeway.
is, it's the,
Hank,
freeway.
well, Hank
Right.
Aaron Trail
Yeah.
technically. but-
yeah, so there's a freeway.
Yeah, there is a
Oh, look
road
at that.
up
I didn't
there.
realize there's a couple houses north of freeway in West Dallas.
Yeah.
but it's
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
In the-
that's Greenfield, though. Greenfield Avenue.
Yes,
right?
it's significantly
Correct.
farther north than Greenfield. It's
And that
Theo,
used to be 3.
Basically, we're Colders.
Yeah, we're Colders. Colders and U-Haul.
even
The-
past that, yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not U-Haul, but, well.
Yep.
Well,
Oh, yeah, that
the other
A
U-Haul.
little,
Yeah.
The second U-Haul.
so it goes, yeah. So I think this is that concrete place
Okay.
right here.
Zenago?
Yes.
Signal, yep.
Yep, so they're right here.
Okay. No houses there, though.
No, but
Businesses.
are there houses here, maybe, on Adler?
No, no.
Okay, I don't know if there's any houses up here at all.
No, it's all
No,
businesses.
all south
Okay.
there.
Right.
But yeah, so that's where the limits
Tracker is
go.
pretty much where the houses end.
Stop
Correct.
here,
Yep.
okay. Yeah, so this design allows for a nice number in 5. It's exactly 12,000, which is very close to the 12,065 that I'm shooting for.
I like
I have to say, it's a really nice, clean map, too.
is.
It really
Sense.
hits the boundaries
So that was
appropriately.
my goal, was I want to make it easy to explain, easy for alders to know where their district lines are, easy for voters to know, is my neighbor in my district or not? I don't want, the hardest part is having someone on a residential back street, having a different alder than someone across the street from you.
Right.
These are all major separators along the way, significant roads. So that's the goal, is to try to create that natural separation. So I've locked 5 where it is. 4 is, I think, this side of it. And then the nice thing too is if 5 needs to, they could actually take on this group, because it's not such a large number of residents that if 4 needs to lose a few, that's a spot where I'd first take it from.
Right.
Would that compensate that area if you gave that over to, for the area that Marty was talking about, from 2 to 4?
So maybe we should move
if
to
it-
first,
Well,
though.
right
Right.
now, 4 is undersized.
Okay,
So they're a little below the average. So you don't want to take away right now.
okay.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase 1 and 2 and also this side of 4. And when I do that, it's going to give us new numbers to work with. And like I said, next we still have half an hour before the council meeting, so I hope you don't mind
Not at all.
Yeah,
No,
let's do
that's
it.
fine.
doing this.
Now, by the looks of the,
10 years ago.
yeah, the looks of the map, then District 3, Dana and I's district would go to 103rd, correct?
It would go to the railroad
The
tracks.
railroad tracks.
Okay.
So it's got the railroad tracks coming up, and then all the way up to the top, all up to the top. Oops, I just accidentally clicked, but luckily I locked that one, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, just railroad tracks up to the city limits.
Okay.
Everything east of the railroad tracks, west of 84th, and then the railroad hits interstates.
Schlinger to Lincoln?
Yep, and
All the way
then
down to Lincoln.
Okay.
Lincoln, nothing south of Lincoln, everything north. So it's a nice,
That makes sense.
I think it's a nice,
Agreed.
easily explainable,
Yeah.
very understandable for voters. I think it matches people who have an interest.
Agreed demographically. it makes-
Yeah.
How about their numbers? How do they compare?
So
3,
3 is slightly oversized.
right?
By
5 is
197.
slightly undersized, and right now we're still working on 4. So, as you can see, just it's that easy to erase them. What I recommend is filling out 4 first, because it's already established. So what I would do then is, I'm just going to assign it. So staying along Lincoln seems to make a lot of sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'll just do the whole area here, just because it forms a nice corner right there. And then if you do that, 4 is slightly oversized. It's oversized by about 500 people. So the question is, where do you want to give up 500 people? And you have to give it up in a way where you can give a little bit to 5, but you can't give any to 3.
Could you give that whole section that you talked about by the
That
freeway
right there.
This one to 5?
Yeah.
I can do that, and then it's only going to lose a small number, though.
Yeah,
You're
there's not
still
a lot of houses there.
you're still going to have to lose a few more. So we lost about 100.
Yeah, that's not much. What if you take the corner down just a little bit to 32?
What about the other section?
Yeah,
Right
A little bit further, right there.
Yep,
Right
so
there.
that's a few more.
And then now go down one more.
So now we're at 12,288. We're getting really close.
That's really close.
And we're sticking along. I probably would include this just to make sure there's not another angle to worry
Yeah.
about. So I'd actually just keep it Cleveland to I-100. It's a nice squared number.
That's 21.
So yeah, now you're at 12,288. 5 though, you see when we did that, now 5 is 200 people too big.
Okay.
Too big?
Yeah, so that's
Take away
why
that little square there?
it'd be
bottom?
better to probably take this back to 4 and then lose numbers over here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because otherwise you make 5 too big.
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to send this back to 4. Yeah, I love how slick that is.
It's just launching them to the floor.
It's so much easier.
It's a jigsaw puzzle, but
Right?
you make the pieces.
Oh, it's so nice. So now 5 is actually a little oversized.
What about that little square?
Which one?
Little square where you had the greenfield. Greenfield on the bottom of 5.
Scroll down.
Yeah, see that little square?
Right here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
south of Oklahoma.
What is that?
That's a smaller residential area. It's about 107th, 106th Euclid. That
Put that
area.
into 4.
Well, 4 is already too big.
Oh, 4's too big.
5 is too big, and 4 is too big, and 3 is too big under this arrangement.
Uh-oh.
So
What does it have to be?
it should be 1265.
So you got to work on the other part
Okay.
and
Yeah,
add
so
it to 2 or 1.
so that's the issue. I think that's why I put this all with 4. Was my choice was either be 80 over or 60 under.
Which wouldn't be bad numbers.
Neither one's
way,
bad.
it's not bad.
Neither one's
That's
bad.
not bad.
Yeah.
No.
But 4 is too big. 4 needs to lose. If we
What about
can,
that corner
300
over there, Cal?
Which it?
Next
Yeah,
to the
on
first.
the east end.
Yep. Yeah, this is 4.
Yeah, that
4
one
has to lose
should
some.
go, really.
4 should lose someone over here.
Yeah,
But what
right
about
there.
that little square along
Yeah.
the corner
Along
there?
Beloit Road.
Right here?
Yeah, right
Yeah.
there.
Right there.
So it's
That
kind of
whole-
weird
yeah.
here, and you're you're doing the exact same thing I was doing. It's weird because we have houses on the east side of 72nd or West
that's
Dallas,
messed up.
Right.
and on the west side of 71st is Milwaukee.
Right.
So it would be really clean to go right down 72nd, but then you're going to have all these houses on the east side of 72nd cut off
Yeah.
from the 4th, and
Wow.
then will not be. So it's almost like these have to be in the 4th.
Yeah, they do.
All these.
Yeah, they do.
So your only real options are to now pick like these outside blocks. What makes some sense,
But those are the wards that we create.
yes, we will
So we
create.
could recreate those wards in different shapes.
Those are
Yes.
census tracts, aren't they?
Are those wards or census tracts?
These are census blocks.
Blocks.
So these are the smallest
That's
things.
smaller.
Yeah,
Okay.
so most wards are going to be dozens of census
Yeah.
blocks that we create. So I'm assigning every block to a certain district right now. So right now, like I said, we got to lose if we can lose 350 people exactly, that'd be great. Even a few more because we're already oversized in the, oversized in the 3rd. What did I just do there? Did I go back? Okay.
Are you going to start
My mouse
shaving
is-
off right there?
Yeah, so someone's got to get shaved off, and since Lincoln is such a nice divider,
Yeah, do it on the
Probably.
east.
Start shaving in there.
Yeah, that makes
From the
sense.
east.
so we'll just shave a couple off there,
Right.
down to 1237. We're getting close. If you want to use Buchanan and 71st and 70th, or 72nd, 71st Buchanan as the divider, that actually gets us to a really nice number.
Yeah, you're right there.
See that?
Now the first and
Yeah,
second
leave
have to
that for
duke it
now.
out.
So now, if everyone's all right with that, we can lock 4 in right there.
Right?
So now 3, 4, and 5 are done. And again, as long as the county doesn't draw something that messes with our lines, we can keep that. But now, yes, 1 and 2, how would you like to divide them? Because
84th to 70th.
84th to 70th is the first one,
Yep.
Try that.
And then along Lincoln.
all right? 70th is right here. So cut a few extras there, but as you can see, it's not quite big enough.
So go to 68th.
Right.
Let's see here. So
68.
I'm just gonna make sure I get this nice and squared to start. So we're on 70th right now, perfectly
Okay.
squared. And we
Yeah,
need to
10.
get another about 1,700 people.
Oh, it's gonna be more than 68.
That's a lot.
So, yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
But couldn't we leave,
And where's our Hispanic population that we can't cut through?
This general area is your highest concentration, and so I would not,
You want to touch
I
that?
wouldn't cut through this area. It's got anywhere north of these tracks and south of National. This is your strongest Hispanic population that you'd like to keep as one group.
So what if you went to 68th then?
yeah, let's just see where we're at.
So 60,
68th
So
and,
Greenfield down to 68th and then,
so 68th is a little strange because it doesn't go all the way through on these census blocks. Pick and Save cuts it off. So do you want to start at National and go
Yeah.
south?
Let's try that.
So right here, and go south.
Yeah.
Oops. This is easier on my computer. I can control a little better. So if you do that, you're at 11,800. You need to pick up another 250 people if you can.
Well, couldn't
what
we
if
pick
you-
up that 104?
Yeah.
That's right there, and then couldn't
then-
we leave them short and make where that apartment's gonna go into that part of that district?
Yeah.
And it'll compensate for it later?
Right.
It's got a 0 right now.
Yeah, so could we
Exactly.
make that 0 knowing that, you
So-
know, potentially there are gonna be a couple hundred
Just
residents?
So just to see the balance that it's going to create, I'll fill in one with the leftover, and you'll see where our averages are at. So because these two districts are a little oversized right now, these are going to have to be a little short. And I agree with you that if you're going to short someone, it should be wherever those apartments line up. Because that's going to balance it out later. But as you can see,
how many apartments are gonna go in there? What was that, the number
Well,
again?
128, is it?
so right now, it's number of residents. So right now, Nona only reported 24 people.
Yeah.
And we know we're probably at 200
Yeah.
or more
Right.
Oh, yeah.
in reality right now. Sona is going to be, I think, around the same size, so you could probably guess, again, 200 more people coming in. So we're undersized by like 350 right now, probably. So if you leave one short by 350 for everyone else, it's going to be equal within the next year.
So with those numbers right now, you'd be fine.
The 0, the 212, and the
Yeah,
104?
yeah,
Couldn't
212.
we change that? Or just 212?
well, 104 is Pickett City, there's no
Yeah.
one living
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So let's just go north to Greenfield Avenue. Yeah, 212 and 104.
And that 0, you might as well, because eventually,
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be that's the,
No, the 0 up on top she's talking about, right?
yeah,
right here.
Right there.
yeah.
Oh.
So it follows the railroad tracks then.
Yeah.
north.
Yeah.
So if you do that, you've got 1211, about what it is over here, and you're short about 300. That's a pretty good
Which is
separation.
which is the
Sold.
amount we're gonna get for the new apartment complexes going in.
Persona, and again,
You're
the
gonna-
other ones only reported
One-
24. We know that there's 200.
Right.
One will jump up to be about equal with the other three districts. The only one that's going to be a little short is 4, but again, it's really close, and I don't know how much you want to sacrifice. In fact, if you,
Solid lines.
I would rather have the solid lines.
Yeah, me
honestly,
too.
leave it out, just-
so I'm going to lock 1 and 2 here. I'll just show you what happens if you do switch these over.
That looks really good, though.
I think it's a nice, again, for the ease of the voters, understanding where their lines are and where their districts are, it's a very easy map to explain. So if you do that, essentially 4 becomes the big one, 5 becomes the small one. 90 people over, 60 people under. I think there's an undo somewhere around here, yeah.
Is 5 the one that lost the most population in the recent census?
I sent out the email. I gotta think back now.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember
I
either.
don't remember either. I felt like, I thought 2 lost the most.
I was gonna say, I thought it was 2 or 4.
My kids all moved out.
All of Artie's kids left, that's why they're down.
Okay, the first district is losing 200 some people then, right?
The first district is too big right now. So it
Yeah,
has to lose some folks.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Plus, it's going to
understand.
gain 300 more probably in this maps.
We're trying to make it easy for you, Vince. Don't worry.
So just to show the comparison, right now, either on this design, 4 is about 90 people over and 5 is 60 people short. If you go back to this, 4 is 50 people short and 5 is 80 people over.
Yeah, it's
So if you
closer.
do this, this is closer.
Yeah,
I think
I
that.
I think that'd be good.
yeah.
So this is a very workable map. The only trick is we kind of hit this weird corner, which is why
That's
this
the only weird part.
Yeah.
This is the only strange part that I haven't figured out a mathematical way around. If you want to keep these nice solid lines everywhere else.
Yeah.
Looks like
It's one little tail or
Louisiana,
panhandle.
Alabama. Right?
Yeah. This will be,
About the South.
Mississippi and Alabama.
yeah, this is the Mississippi of West Allis right
Yeah.
here.
In a
So,
good way.
in a good way.
Yeah, I usually
Yeah.
don't want to be a Mississippi ever.
That's true. In shape only.
I like it where it's at, just personal opinion.
Hey, Kevin, they got great catfish down there.
I believe
I
across
second
the street
that
from
one.
Fairview on 68th Street, a little dinking spot.
Maybe not.
It could be actually removed and going to the first automatic district.
Where, which one?
Which one, Vince?
Down, I mean, by Fairview there.
Down there,
Yeah,
a little 22 and whatever the one next to
Right
it is.
there, yeah.
Those two,
I don't know.
19
It
and
makes more
22.
sense to be 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of nice in two.
I don't see nothing wrong really with that one.
Okay. Yeah, this is the tricky spot where there's still, you know,
There's just no good way.
Well,
to
it,
put it.
No.
you can't finalize it now anyway, because you don't know what the
Right.
county's gonna be.
correct.
Not going to be perfect.
Correct.
Tom, we just ignore the county.
Yeah,
I like how it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, it's close.
I do too.
Something similar to that, I think, works.
Yeah.
Right.
I can roll with that. So, save under K3.
Again, nice work, Kale. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. No, it's, as you can see, it's a lot easier.
I like it
with
too.
the
It's
system.
fun. I'm like, ooh, I want to play with the mouse.
Usually the nerd group here.
Can I drive?
Do some lines.
So these are
That'd be
both,
funny if we all had a mouse. Try this.
these are both commercial properties. I don't think we're gonna ever have residential on these. I don't think they're, but if there's an interest in doing it, because we're following the railroad tracks up here, I try to avoid one-off blocks if I can. So if you want to follow the railroad tracks to this point and back,
Yeah, you could do that.
it won't make a population change,
No,
but
it's, yeah,
it keeps a smoother line.
businesses
Yeah, I
there,
don't like
yeah.
how that line looks then.
As long as you keep my alders the same, I'm good.
Yeah, so if you're okay with that, I'll just make that change because, like I said, I like to have as many
Yeah.
consistent lines.
Yeah,
So
I do two straight lines are
the
much better.
tracks will run all the way from the north limits, all the way to where they hit more tracks, then back to
Yeah.
the west on the tracks, and then they hit the streets only because they have to.
Right.
And like you said, it doesn't gain any population.
Yeah, there's
lose
no
any
people there,
population,
so-
Nope, and it continues a line, and it's, you know, railroad tracks to, what is this? Is this Beecher? What's closer?
Burnham.
Yeah, Burnham, Beach,
Burnham, there it
yeah.
is. So, yeah, then Burnham, then south on 70th. I think it's 70th, right? Is that what we decided?
68.
68.
That's what it is, okay. So, that's a nice, again, easy way to explain to folks. So I'll lock that in right here for now. I'll use my K3 plan as my base, and then when the county finally gets back to us, I'll try my best to mesh it to this.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
not
Gail.
a problem. That's all I
Make a
got.
motion- Make
Okay.
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.